Do you want to learn how to get retired, stay retired, and enjoy your life to the fullest? This is the Retire Happy Podcast with certified financial planner professional Jeremy Finger. Jeremy will be your guide to happiness as he discusses the art and science of retirement, breaking down the complicated information to help you make good financial decisions without worry or burden. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Retire Happy with Jeremy Finger. Jeremy, what's going on?
Hey, Eric. How you doing, buddy?
Man, I am doing so good. It's almost spring. I mean, today is a little bit warmer than it was yesterday, and I'm looking forward to being outside.
Yeah, well, if you're outside here, you're going to have a nice tint of yellow because everything's got a nice glaze of pollen all over it.
Lord. In other words, I won't be able to see. I'll be sneezing my brains out. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what comes with spring, doesn't it?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
We didn't come to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about what the process is when somebody reaches out to you and your team. And for the audience member, the reason we want to do this podcast specifically is there's a lot of times that people are apprehensive or they have concerns about reaching out to somebody in financial services. And we've seen that throughout the years, but there's nothing to be concerned about. Jeremy is not a hardcore salesman. You'll get to know him through these podcasts. When you go to his website, he's got a bunch of podcasts on there also that he's already done. And now he's doing this new gig, and he's included me, which is just fantastic. I'm along for the ride, just like you are. And so I'm learning from Jeremy every time we get together, and I'm just so blessed to be here. But Jeremy, is that okay? Can we go through this process and talk about this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Let's just jump in. If somebody's listened to this podcast or they have maybe attended one of the numerous webinars that you put out, you do a lot of education for clients and prospects and just the general public. If somebody says, you know what, I really do need to reach out to this guy and chat with him, what happens from that moment?
Okay. Yeah, good question. And truthfully, the concern is legitimate. There's a lot of times where people are hard sold things, products and things like that. And so what our intention here is first and foremost is to educate with information that may be useful to the people who are listening. And when they're better educated, they understand why we're saying what we're saying and why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. Yeah. So, but if someone were to, let's say, go to our website and take a look at our content and say, hey, oh yeah, this is great content, and I do have a question, how I might apply this information to my situation, they could simply click our scheduling link on the website. And what that does is you see our calendar, and you can set up a 15-minute phone appointment.
Okay.
Right? So that's as easy as pie, really is. And that's by design. And there's not a lot of questions on filling that out either. All you do is put your phone number, which is where we call, and whatever information you want to add to that, you can add or not add. But here's what happens, Eric, when they call. I mean, when they set up that 15-minute phone appointment, this is what happens. I call them, and I simply say, hey, thank you for setting up a time to chat with us. What's top of mind, and how can I help you? That's it.
Yeah.
And they ask me whatever questions that they want. And sometimes I'm able to help them right on the 15-minute call, or I'm able to say, hey, you need to call this person or this person and get whatever taken care of. And that's it. So that's the easiest way on the planet to be able to see what the next step is. We're not selling anything. We just want to answer your questions. And then if they want to proceed differently, then we can go to a different step.
All right, let's ask this. What is one of the biggest concerns when people do call in? Because in my mind, and I could be guessing right here, I hope I am, in my mind it's probably something along the lines of, hey, I want to make sure that I have enough to retire, or I'm going to be secure in retirement. Is that the biggest thing that you hear when people call in, or what's the variety there?
I think it really is very broad. I've got people who have a lot of money and they're worried about taxes. I've got people who are concerned that they can't retire next week. I have people who worrying about, hey, when should they take Social Security or not? I've had this one lady who called in. She said, listen, I've got 15 minutes. I'm like, great. This is a 15-minute phone appointment. We're perfect. And and she said, yeah, I got to go to work. I really hate my job. I wish, but I really want to get retired. And I'm like, okay. I asked her a few questions, and I'm like, do you know you could retire now?
Really?
She had no idea, Eric, that she could retire, right? She really was going to work out of choice. But the way she was brought up and all the things that she, was exposed to through her entire life, she just felt like she still had to work for whatever reason. I'm like, just letting you know that you are working by choice. It's not by obligation. So,
I love that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that there is a tremendous variety of people who call in and ask questions. There are people who have too much debt and not any money, and then there are people who have a ton of money and more than they can ever spend. And each one has got some unique concerns, and so a lot of times they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, I had a guy, call me yesterday. He's like, might sell my business and how much income could it get? Just very simple things like that. So just to give you an idea.
Simple for you. I mean, it's simple for you because you've dealt with this. But for other people, it's like, man, I just don't know. So when they don't know and you're gathering some information just by that 15-minute phone call, what's the next step? If I need to meet with you because I've got some complexities here. I'm a business owner. I'd love to retire. I know that I'm not at that point right now, but I want to make sure that I'm on the right track. What kind of follow-up appointment do we have? After that?
So here's the thing. Let's just say, for instance, that someone they say, "Hey, okay, I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z," and we talk a little bit about that. I'll ask them a few questions to get some more background on it, and then I'm like, "Yeah, this is going to take longer than 15 minutes." So here's the next step from that. All right, is that we either set up a Zoom call and we meet virtually, and so what happens here is our team sends out a Zoom link. And what they do is they send out their personal financial planning website link as well. So they get two links, one for the personal financial planning tools and the other one for the Zoom. And on the personal financial planning tool site, they can drop in any information that would be useful. I mean, they can drop in their statements and things like that. And that's the backbone for building a preliminary plan to kind of give them an idea of where they are and where they're going. Okay, it's a secure website, and sometimes people drop in their tax returns and their statements and things like that, and sometimes people don't do that. They're not there yet, and that's fine too. So when we have the first 1 hour Zoom appointment or appointment in office, either way is fine. We are filling in the information needed for us to really try to see the world through your eyes and where you are. Okay, Eric, what we try to do is establish where are you in your life right now as it relates to what you want to accomplish. And then we forward think, hey, ideally speaking, what would you like to accomplish? Okay, and we try to bridge the gap there. Hey, what are some of the things that we need to think about to be able to get you there? Okay, now in that, like this lady who could have retired, I mean, her gap was already closed. She just didn't know it. She was standing on the finish line and did not know it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, I love the statement because I think that's what a lot of professionals, including doctors, attorneys, advisors like yourself, that's what they fail to do, is put themselves in the shoes of the person they're talking to or look through their eyes, as you put it. And everybody's life is complex to them. In a way. I've got grandkids. You and I have spoken about this before. I've got parents and I've got grandkids and kids, of course. So they talk about the sandwich generation. Jeremy, I'm in the club sandwich generation. There's like 4 layers, and I don't know if I'm the white toast in between or the bacon. I choose to be the bacon, but whatever, because it just smells better. This is a total tangent I shouldn't even brought up. But anyway, but this is what I'm talking about, is that I have complexities in my life that the next person doesn't. And so for you to say that you're going to look through my eyes, I really find that reassuring, because that's something that I need somebody else to do. I need you to understand where I'm coming from when we're having this conversation. So when we've gone through this and you've gathered my information and you've gotten that picture, what is that next step? Do you have an answer for me? Or Yeah. That's a good question. All right. So first and foremost is that when I'm able to see the world through your eyes in what is most ideal to you, okay, we're going to share with you some of the obstacles that may be in your way or not in your way to help you get your goals accomplished. All right. So some people are standing on the edge of a cliff, and it's very dangerous, and they don't even know it.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's almost like a child trying to almost touching a hot stove. They don't know any difference. All right, and then there's some people like this other lady who she could already retire. So what we try to do is forward think and go over the different obstacles that may be in the way, or a list of things that need to be accomplished between now and whatever goals they want to accomplish. All right, hey, yeah, we need to optimize Social Security. We need to be mindful of, you may want to consider taking withdrawals from your IRA instead of taking Social Security now for tax-efficient withdrawals for retirement, so to speak. You may need to, hey, instead of putting in pre-tax 401k, you need to do a Roth based on where you are and where you're going to go. So we go over a checklist of things that helps the clients, the next 3 or 4 steps the client needs to do to be able to get them prepared for what they want to accomplish. Now, Eric, here's the thing. They get this information and they could do it themselves, or they can give it to the advisor they use right now, or it makes no difference to us. It's no charge or any of that stuff. Okay. But we do give them an opportunity to be able to, hey, what would it look like if we were working together? Okay. Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to talk about that on the next podcast, is how that works to become a client. So what you're telling me is that, and I don't know what you call it, but I'm assuming you've got a plan that you're kind of mapping out and telling them, hey, if you were to take these steps, like you said, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, I think. If you were to take these steps, this is how you get to that end goal. Because some of the goals that they want, like I had mentioned, I want to be able to retire securely. Well, that's one very small fraction of the overall goal. And you know that, right? When working with clients, I want to retire securely, but we haven't spoken about the fact that I also like to travel. I also want to be able to supply for my grandkids' education. I also want to be able to A, B, C, D, and E, right?
That's 100% the case, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you find that out, or how do you, have that discussion with your clients? What's that look like when you're talking about goals?
So as soon as you said the word secure, all right, great, Eric, what's secure for you? Right?
Yeah, true.
I was just okay. So what is secure? So some people, security is having $20 million in cash, and some people secure is, could be a way different things. Could be very drastically different. So trying to see the world through their eyes and what's meaningful to them. Some people, it's having travel budgets. Yeah. Hey, and this one client of mine who grew up in the military, she doesn't want to travel anywhere. She doesn't want to go past her front porch. So whatever it is to them, and yes, we model in travel, we model in inflation, and that's fairly, at least I hope it's standard. I hope other people do that kind of stuff. But also, hey, you got to check the boxes. Make sure you got your estate documents in order, so that if something were to happen to you, that your spouse or kids knows where things are at. And
okay, that brings up another question, because you talk about estate planning documents, and I think that's another reason people avoid the doctor. They avoid life insurance agents and things like that, because nobody likes talking about death. Nobody likes talking about the end times, but that's part of the overall plan, because I'm assuming, just like you or just like me, you've never met anybody who is immortal.
That's right. So
not yet.
Okay, so let me tell you who's not going to call me.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you who's not going to call me. Someone who doesn't want to hear the truth.
Okay, that's fair enough. If you don't want to hear the truth,
if you don't want to hear the truth, then don't call.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. But if you call, you're going to get an objective experience point of view, and I'm going to share with you reality, as good as reality as we could think about. And that's fine. If you don't know what you want your estate to go to, that's fine too. Wherever you are, that's where we'll be. And then what our intention is just to help you take the incremental next step to help move the ball down to court, so to speak.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I'm super excited to dive into other topics with you in this podcast journey that we're on, because all these things are swimming around in my head, right? All these different things, thinking about myself, my wife, my family. We're charitably inclined, and I know that that's part of your process. I want to talk about that on a podcast, and I know that you've got lots of strategies and things to talk about and share. But just thinking about the complexity of where different people are, and to go back to something you said earlier, if about the $20 million in cash, if you happen to know where I can get $20 million in cash in the next 6 months, Jeremy, just We don't have to talk about it on the podcast, but certainly I'd appreciate a phone call.
Yeah.
I might sleep a little better at night if I knew I was sleeping on $20 million in cash on my mattress. Probably not. Your advice probably isn't to have it under my mattress, I'm assuming too, right?
No, that's not, because you certainly weren't going to let everybody else know where that money was.
Now I can't put it in there because it's on the podcast. It's going to be someplace else.
That's right.
All right. No, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So let's, like I said, on the next podcast, we're going to talk about what it looks like to become a client, because a lot of this is just relationship building. Right. I mean, that's my not my assumption, because I know you. I know that that's something that you strive to do with everybody that you're working with or come in contact with, is to develop a relationship, whether it's short term or long term.
Yeah, and that's very important, Eric. So, but however far someone wants to go is fine, or not go. That's fine. Mm-hmm. All right. If someone wants to call and say, "Hey, just tell me when I should take Social Security," I might ask a few questions because I need that information. Yeah. And then if they want to implement it, that's fine. It's no big deal. But if someone wants to, hey, I really want to spend more time traveling and enjoying my spouse and spending time with the grandkids, and I really don't want to have to think about Social Security optimization, withdrawal strategies, and the markets and things like that. And, I really want to have somebody that I can trust, that's going to look out for me and look out for my spouse if something happens to me and things like that, then yeah, we could talk about that as well. I'm not beating anybody over the head with a hammer. I am just a resource of information. Our firm is, and our people on our team are, people as deep or as shallow as they want to go, and just to shoot them in the right direction so they can make the next best step for them.
Yeah, and every time you start talking, man, it always leads me to another subject that I want to dive into on this podcast, obviously in the future, because we don't have time today, but you talked about Social Security. The example you gave, somebody wants to call you up and say, hey, when should I take Social Security? From my understanding, and you may have a better handle on the number, but there are over 300 different ways somebody can file for Social Security. And I don't think most people know that. I think that they think it's like, I just call them up and say, I'm ready, and that's the choice, but that's not it.
That's 100% the case. And guess what? Most people take it at age 62, and most people who are not taking it the right to age.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Just saying.
So let's talk about that in the future.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to help. Anytime you want to talk about that, Eric, we'll certainly do that. By the way, you did mention about someone did call in. Let's just say they weren't on my website and didn't do the 15-minute phone appointment. If they called the office, Roxanne's going to pick up the phone. Her heart's big as the sun. She's the life of a party, and just
that's awesome.
Super warm person. Paul's here. He's an FA, wrote his own financial planning book. We got Dan here, 27 years of experience, a CFP. And we got a good crew here to help shoot people in the right direction. And anybody who wants some good information, know what the next best steps are, we're just going to try to shoot you in the right direction, whatever that step that may be.
Okay. Well, we spoke about two different ways to reach out to you. And that one is the website, so they can make their own 15-minute appointment. And then one is the phone number. Can you give us both of those?
Yes, absolutely. So the website is riverbendwealthmanagement.com. And every page you go to is Talk with Riverbend. Just click that link. You're going to see our calendar, and you just set up a 15-minute phone appointment that way. The other way is certainly phone, 843-970-1049. That's 843-970-1049. And you're going to have one of us pick up the phone and just answer whatever questions you may have, or guess what we may do is set up a 15-minute phone appointment.
Yeah, of course. That makes perfect sense. All right, well, I'm just going to reiterate on the next podcast, if you didn't get enough of what the process truly looks like, to speak with Jeremy and kind of map that out, talk about your goals, talk about what your current situation is and what you want your situation to be. That's what we're doing on the next podcast. When at the end of this exploratory situation, if somebody decides to become a client, then we're gonna pick up kind of right here where we're leaving off on that next podcast. Is that good with you, Jeremy?
That sounds good to me.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for your time. Again, it's always a pleasure. You make me laugh, dude. I love it.
Yeah, happy to help any way I can, even if it's humor.
All right, yeah, it sounds good to me. All right, but our last thank you will always go to you, listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Retire Happy podcast with Jeremy Finger. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Jeremy comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And this makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at Riverbend Wealth Management, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Retire Happy podcast with certified financial planner Jeremy Finger. If you have any questions, please visit us at www.riverbendwealthmanagement.com or call us at 843-970-1043. And remember, click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.
Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor doing business as Riverbend Wealth Management. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.